Hello, lovely people. It's Nicola back in the Stitches and Slapdashery sewing room. I've got quite a bit to talk about today. This week has been about working and watching Britbox. McDonald's and Dodds is my latest thing, which is fun. A British police program with some nice, gentle humour and nothing too violent or out there. It's been a joy. Reading, I've been working on a book called Flight by, I'm going to have to look this up, hold on a minute. Flight is by Lynn Steger Strong, and it was not a very long book, and it was a little challenging because it was about these three couples, so three siblings and their partners. And it took me half the book to figure out who was married to whom, because obviously I don't remember things very well. Anyway, it was a nice story, and I quite enjoyed it. And then, of course, burnt through that one quite quickly, and then moved on to my Jodi Picoult that came in from my library. So this is the one I'm working on right now. It's called Mad Honey. And I'm about a third of the way through it. It's quite heart-wrenching, this one. It's about a single mum, and she has a son who's 18. The son has a girlfriend who has her own sad past, and something happens to her and he is blamed for it and he ends up in jail. So at the moment he's waiting to have his trial, and we have yet to find out whether he's innocent. I'm sure he is. I hope he is, because he sounds like a really nice boy. And there's a lot in there about bees and beekeeping, if that's something that you're into, because makes me think of Kate at the last Homely House, because she is mad about bees. In her last Patreon video, she got started talking about beekeeping, and she said, "You shouldn't get me onto this topic because I never stop." So, because I put a whole bunch of things on hold at the same time, I have 3 more Jodi Picoult books. Picoult. I don't know. I'm probably saying it wrong. So I've got By Any Other Name, Wish You Were Here, and A Spark of Light. And there is a possibility that I have read one of these before, but I was just going through and like hold, so that they would come up and be ready at the library for me to pick up when it became my turn to borrow them. I think I have another author, Kristen Hanna, I think it is, that was recommended to me. And I may have a few of her books on hold as well. I may have to suspend those because 4 novels this size could take me a while to get through. So I've already taken quite a lot of footage of me wrangling a couple of my projects from this week, so I'll let them speak for themselves later. But in between those, I have been doing some knitting. Now, this is a really simple, quick project, but obviously, because I have been doing a lot of other things this week, it's still on the go. You will have seen this in the last vlog. It's called Ashling by, what's her name? Yeah, I'm going to have to look at my notes again, because she has right here, because she has a name I can't pronounce. Michaela, Jandacek. It's a free pattern. It's on Ravelry, and it's just a 1-page pattern. I'm going to have to be careful not to let it come off the needles. The garter section is just a 2-row repeat. The faux Irish mesh section is just a 2-row repeat. Quite easy to memorize. There is an error in the pattern. I believe there is an error in the pattern because when you go from this center section, there's a center spine where you're doing a make one, and then you're knitting that center spine and then another make one. When you go onto the mesh section, one of the markers mysteriously disappears. It only says slip marker once. So I decided to ignore what she said, and I maintained my 2 markers in the middle with my knit stitch in between. And I think that's correct. Obviously, this is going to get a hard blocking when it's done. It's quite open because I'm using 5mm needles, I think it is, with a DK yarn. And you know, when you do any sort of lace, you want it to really stretch out, don't you? Hope you can see that. Oh, please don't come off the needles. Bamboo pop that's been in the stash for literally years and years. So it's good to be finishing that off finally. Or maybe not finishing it off. I have 2 balls of it and it may not use it. In fact, it probably won't. Even though I've made it a little bit bigger than the pattern called for, it probably will not use up all my yarn. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. It's Sunday today. I told Mr. Stitches we had to get out for a walk in the park. Normally we go for our walks just around the neighbourhood, and that can get a bit boring sometimes. So I said we had to go into the woods today. And we did. And there was a lovely view of the lake, and I got some footage of that. So hopefully you will have seen that at the beginning. If it came out well, I will have put it in the beginning. So I'll leave you to watch all the fun I was having with my t-shirt yarn and my crochet in the next bit, and then I'll come back and talk to you again a bit later on. I'm hoping I've got a good angle here for what I'm about to do. In the spirit of using up scraps and things, I finally finished hacking up all of these t-shirts that I had sitting in the corner of my sewing room. There was a rusty brown one, a light sort of turquoisey one, a darker turquoisey 1 or 2, and lots of navy blue ones, which were old work shirts of either Mr. Stitches or one of my kids, I can't remember. So I joined them up by looping them together because I didn't do the spiral method. I just cut across and had all these loops, which I just joined together. And I'm really hoping these knots aren't going to cause a problem. I did try crocheting with this stuff, but it was so thick, I gave up. But I've got some spools of thread here, some of which are really low and are going to run out quite quickly. So I'll start with the ones with the least amount of thread on there, and that will get used up because we're really into the using what you have and finishing things up this year. I took my walking foot off the machine and I've just put the regular foot on there. Well, it says F on it. It's not the one that you're supposed to sew regular stitches with all the time necessarily, but maybe it's an embroidery foot, I'm not sure, but it's clear, which is handy because I can see what I'm doing through the foot. Now let's see if I can see to get this threaded. The reason I'm not using the walking foot is that I've broken like three needles in the last few weeks because when I go over lumpy stuff, and I'm obviously going to be going through lumpy stuff here, then the foot tips. And when it tips and the front goes up and the back goes down, the needle hits the metal of the foot and breaks, which is highly annoying. I'm also going to be using up what thread I have on these bobbins because there's a little bit of blue or blue-green on all of these. So we're going to not be wasteful and use up some of those as well. Probably all of them, because this uses a lot of thread. Now, I wasn't sure whether to go for a rope bowl or placemat type thing. It'll probably be a bowl if it works out. Let's just see if it works out. It may not. As you can see, I've got a double strand here, so this may be a massive mistake, but we're going to give it a go. So from my previous adventures making rope bowls, I know that you have to have it going onto the needle in a certain direction to make things easiest, and you have to start by making a coil. And you can pin it. I've done this with clothesline before. I'm not sure if I've done it with t-shirt yarn. This may be a massive mistake. So I've made a little spiral, and now I'm going to lengthen my stitch. I'm not going to use a zigzag yet, but I'm going to just do a straight stitch across the middle to hold it while I get started. Okay, I got those pins out of there. I'm going to break another needle, aren't I? I don't want that. It looks pretty bad already. It's not holding very tightly, but I just want to do that little X in the center. Okay, now I've done that, it might help you get started. If this is a total failure, then I think what I'm going to have to do is do that method where you crochet around it to make some sort of basket. So you use a yarn and then you crochet over the strands of t-shirt yarn so that you create a fabric without actually crocheting with it. Okay, I'm going to do a massive zigzag now. So I want a wide zigzag. I'm going to go with a 6. I should probably practice it on something first, shouldn't I? So let's go for a 6 zigzag and a 2 length and see what that looks like. I think that might do it. Okay. Let's go. No, this isn't working. This is looking terrible. It's very flat. The machining is flattening it right out. And because there are 2 strands of my loops here, it's only catching one of them as I go around. And it looks terrible. So that was a failed experiment. This is the project that I've been working on a lot this week. all of the crocheting is done. What I did was I took my big basket of stash cottons and did a foundation single crochet. It's upside down, this way around. A foundation single crochet, 33 stitches, and then 39 rows, and it made a square that's about 11.5 inches. I was going to aim for more like 12.5, but it did shrink a bit after my initial row on the first one, and I couldn't be asked to change it. So one of them is a lot of pinks and reds in there, some blues. That's one side of my storage cube to be. This one's got a lot of green and a bit of yellow in. It's got the sparkly green in it. I don't know if you can see the sparkle on that, but yeah, these I know are ugly. You don't need to tell me. I know these are ugly. That's what happens when you multi-strand yarn. You don't know what it's going to look like, and sometimes it's pleasing and sometimes it isn't. This one, there's a lot of yellow in there. This one looks a bit Christmassy because there's green, red, and white in this part. This one is quite a bit of blue and green. And this one is all the same 3 colours throughout. There's a lighter blue, a green, and that jade green. And in the end, I had enough to do that whole square with just the same colours. So this one is going to be the bottom of my cube. I used a 6mm hook and 3 strands of yarn, and the plan is to make these 4 into the walls of my storage cube. This is very heavy. I used about 680 grams of yarn for this. So that was a really good stash burner. This is going to be the bottom. So I think what I'm going to start doing, I'll put this aside for a minute and I will start sewing together these for my walls. Did consider crocheting them together. My poor wrist has had a heck of a time with this tight cotton crochet this week. And I thought it would probably be quite the struggle to get through the sides of the row ends there. I have to make sure I get this right because I want to get them all facing the same way. Doesn't really matter how I position them. And I think I'm going to have it so I'm leaving the seam on the outside. I'm going to double strand my yarn. I'm going to use a strand of this grey, which has a knot in it, so let's get rid of that bit. And a strand of this blue together. So it is a little floppy. You might have noticed that the work's quite floppy, and you may be wondering how it's all going to stand up when I sew it all together into this cube. But I have a plan for that. I have bought some black duct tape, literally duct tape. Love it. And some of this, which is black corrugated plastic. These 2 pieces cost me, actually they cost me different because I got different discounts on them, but they're 20 inches by 30 inches. I don't know what that is in centimeters right now. I could probably figure out in my head. 20 inches is half a meter anyway. I know that much. I used a 50% coupon on the first one, so I got it for just about $3. And then the second one, I ended up using the 50% coupon on this and a 40% off the second sheet of plastic. There was a good coupon deal at work this week. I work at Michael's, in case you didn't know. And so I got good discount on those things. And there's also Staff Appreciation Week. So actually, if I want anything else, this week would be a good week to get it. Okay, let me think about this. I think I want to make the seam really obvious because I want it to add structure. Well, it only took me about half a dozen stitches to realise that I don't really like the way that looks. So we are going to go for the crochet route and see if that looks better. Well, I should have just gone for the crochet in the first place. I mean, that was really easy. I didn't worry too much about where the hook was going, but it sort of found its way into the right places anyway. The back, of course, never looks as tidy as the front. But that was actually pretty good. So that's my inside. And because I've done my crochet seam on the outside, it's going to make a fairly structured corner. Right hand, not a right hand corner, Nicola, a right angled corner, 90 degrees. Like so. So far, so good. That actually was really quick. I've done all 4 seams. I haven't woven any ends in yet. This is going to be very heavy and very large. The irony is that it will hold a lot of yarn, but by the time it's finished, I won't have a lot of yarn to put in it because I've used so much. All right, this is my right side of this, so I need to do this. So now I'm going to put this square base piece in and go all the way round, joining it to the squares, the bottom of the squares that are already joined on the sides. Now, in theory, this should work okay because I'm working into my foundation row on both of them. They have the same amount of stitches, so it shouldn't be hard to match up the stitches as long as I have started in the right place. I wasn't quite sure where I should have started on that one. I'm still working out how I'm going to put in the reinforcing black plastic. I've had some handy hints from my friend Jane, who uses the plastic corrugated stuff to put a little rigid base into her rat bonding scarf type things. She's told me how she cuts it. So either I can use my current rotary cutter with the blade that's in it and then change it out because it's going to get blunt, or I can dig out an old blunt blade and put it in there before I cut the plastic. Either way, it's fine. So I need to work out whether I'm going to cut the plastic at the exact same size of my crochet squares, which was 11.5 inches, or whether I'm going to have to make it a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller. The other thing, I'm not worried about covering up the plastic. I bought black because it's okay. It'll look fine. If I can see the black plastic inside, I don't have a problem with that. If it was white, I might not like it as much. And the reason I bought the black duct tape is to join the pieces together. Out of those 2 sheets, I'm going to have to cobble together a couple of bits for my 5th square. I'm going to need 5 squares, and I can get 4 whole squares out of those 2 pieces, and then stick a couple of bits together. So at the moment, I'm still wondering about how it's all going to work out. And I think I'm going to want to somehow join the crochet to the plastic. And I'm wondering about punching some holes across the top of the plastic to have it joined together at the top. Like I could maybe crochet them or sew them together across the top. I've just finished weaving my ends in. I had a few at each corner at the bottom and a few at each junction at the top edge. And we are going to look and see what it looks like. There's my base. So because I was doing stitches on the bottom of each section, but row ends on 2 of the sides, I had to skip a few stitches. I have 39 rows, but 33 stitches. So I had to skip 6 of my row ends to make sure it all matched up at the end. And then these were just stitches to stitches, so that was easy. So here's my very floppy basket, which is exactly what I expected. It's designed to fit inside one of my cubes in my cubby, my yarn cubbies. It looks so big, but I know it's going to fit because the yarn cubbies measure 13 inches and this only measures 11.5. It just looks massive. Mr. Stitches kindly brought me a cup of tea because I'm still entrenched in this project. The corrugated plastic cuts beautifully one way and it's a bit more of a struggle the other way. Probably because, yeah, the corrugations run a certain way inside, but that makes sense. But I managed to cut 4 full pieces, 4 complete pieces of the 11.5 squares. And then I had to cobble together 2 pieces, but the black duct tape works perfectly. Looks great. So, I need to go grab the scissors again. Oh yeah, the good news was, I think I might have just knocked you, sorry. Good news is I found my little tin which has all my blunt blades in it. So I didn't go and ruin the one I had in there for fabric. Now here's what I'm hoping. I did do a little test with my 4mm eyelet punch thing and my hammer, and yeah, it goes through there really easily. So I'm thinking that what I need to do next is construct my cube with this. This can be the one that goes in the bottom, seeing as it's got the join. And I'm going to use the duct tape to make the joins. Some of my cut edges were messier than others, so I think I'll have to make sure I put the tidiest edges at the top. That one's kind of rough. Actually, you know what? That is actually the neatest, where you can't see down the little... If you look at it one way, you can see all these little holes, tunnels going down. But if you hold it sideways, yeah, that does look nicer. Okay, I need to make sure I think of that. So I probably should make the holes across the top for attaching them to each other. I think I'm going to put this aside for tonight. It's Saturday evening as I'm doing this, and I'm feeling a little tired. We had a heavy dinner, and I've just been advised that the clocks go forward tonight, which means we lose an hour this weekend. So I probably shouldn't have a late night. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it at this stage. Go upstairs and finish my cup of tea. And see how I can make it work tomorrow. It's Sunday now, and I am a lot more awake than I was when I left off this last night. Now I'm going to have to figure out where I want my holes on my plastic. I think I need to have an even number of holes. I don't want them I don't want them spaced too far apart, is what I'm trying to say. Because what I'm thinking is that it would be nice to go in and out of the holes across, maybe under the first row of single crochet. If I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, I'm going to mark the center, and then I'm going to mark 1/2 inch either side of that, and then an inch, an inch, an inch, and an inch. Beauty. I love how sharp this thing is. My holes are punched now. So I'll want this marked side to be against the crochet so that the clean side is on the visible side. So I'm going to now attempt to duct tape everything together. I don't know whether to allow a little gap so that when I've stuck it and it does that. No, it should be fine, I think. I hope. Let's just go for a quick whack it down before it shifts kind of idea. There we are. Okay, that works. Second one. I hope you know that I have no idea what I'm doing. I've never made anything like this before, so don't take this as a tutorial in any way. Okay, time for a corner. Now I was going to tape the other side of this, like the outside corners, but they will be hidden inside the yarn. I do want it to be strong, so I may yet do that. I need more room. Sorry, keep keep hitting the tripod as well. All right. Okay. I could use another pair of hands here, couldn't I? Okay, I'm going to get my duct tape ready. Okay, cross fingers, everybody. I hope this fits in. I think the easiest thing might be to turn it upside down and then put the crochet over it rather than try and stuff the box in from the top. He's got these little circles everywhere now from all the punching holes I've been doing. Let's cross our fingers. It should be snug. I don't want it being floppy abouty. Woohoo. All right, I think that if I do a stitching through that row, it's going to be exactly at the right level. Okay, I need a needle, which I did bring down last night, but do I know where I left it? No, I do not. There it is. Not sure where I'm going to start. Now for the corners, I probably don't want to go around from this hole around to that hole. But then if I go, but if I go on the inside, it's going to be showing, yeah, that will look odd. So it's going to have to go around the outside of the corners. So in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, around the corner. Oh, thank goodness. Okay, let's get started. Awesome. I forgot to mention, did you like my little spring planter? The other day, I was talking to my son about how men never get flowers, and I thought, there's no reason why you can't buy flowers for men. So I decided to buy this planter for my husband. He mentioned when he went to one of the garden centres recently how they didn't have any spring bulbs. And I thought, well, I'm going to get him some. So I happened to be passing a florist last Tuesday on my day off. And I picked this up. It was only $20. I thought it was a really good deal. It's got a yellow primula. It's got some, I guess those are tulips, but no flowers yet. So I don't know what colour they are. It's got narcissus and hyacinth, very fragrant hyacinth. And I think that's a grape hyacinth, isn't it? And he was very predictable. First he said, it's very yellow, isn't it? I said, yes. To me, yellow is the colour of spring, because most years, the first flowers I see in the spring are yellow. And then he said, and how much was that? And I said, I knew you were going to say that. Does it matter how much it was? I bought you a present. Oh dear, that guy. He did not surprise me when he said that. So I've been watching that bloom and grow extra flowers on it over the last few days. And it's on the dining room table usually, where I can appreciate it every day. I thought it would add a nice little bit of fresh colour here. So, what did you think of the cube? Let's talk about the cube. The cube is finished. It is huge. Lots and lots of room in there for anything I want to put in it. And it will fit in one of these cubbies back here if I want to put it in there, which was kind of the plan. And I think what would be cool is if I could fit all of my yarn stash in here now. I don't know if I'm quite at that point, because I do have quite a lot of Lion Brand Heartland in there. I do have those 4 new yarns that I bought for the review video I did last weekend. And I do have quite a few cottons left, even though I put so much into this. But this is the basket that was previously absolutely filled and overfilled with cotton yarns from the stash. And now it's just got one little layer of them at the bottom. Mostly what is in there, I have this sparkly Universe Christmas one from Hobie. I think it's Hobie. It's where I bought it from, I'm not sure. Oh, hang on, here's the label. Haha! Universe Christmas, yeah. Yeah, it's from Hobie. And it's really thin, and I'm going to have to use it on something at some point. This little drawstring thingy was a test knit for somebody on Ravelry. I've got some, I've finished all of my Barocco Modern Cotton worsted weight. I just have this DK weight one left. I have all of my paint box cake left. I didn't use any of that. And I've still got all of my Drops Muscat cotton left. I have 8 little balls of that in varying shades of blue and white. But that is a huge dent made in the stash. So that's awesome, because this year is about using the stash. I didn't sew anything this week, did I? My plan was going to be to make another basket, like this one up here. Can you see that? Oh, there go my chickens. So I had made the small and the medium basket bag, and I was planning to make the largest one, but I just didn't get around to that. And then, I don't know if you can see that either, but up there, I've now got all of my new cottons that I bought from Fabricland last week. all nicely wrapped around bits of cardboard and then lined up in there like a bookshelf. Because they're nice and tidy that way. So I think that's it for today. I'm really pleased to have got at least one thing finished and one thing on the go. I should probably concentrate on that knitted shawl now and get that finished, because if you've been following me for any length of time, you know I love finishing stuff. I don't like works in progress hanging around for a really long time. I have one that's in there, one whip that's in there that is a Frankie Brown 10-stitch blanket. Not feeling the love of that right now. It looks like it's going to be a busy week again. One of the other staff is away on holiday for a couple of weeks, and I have got 5 shifts this week, so working every weekday. And I did have a word with the manager, and I said, is this a mistake? Because normally I only work 4 days. And one of the shifts is an 8-hour one. Once I get to 6 hours, I'm looking at the clock thinking, can I go home now? However, the schedule does show that I only have 3 shifts for the following week. So if that stays the same, I'll be happy about that. And maybe I'll finally be able to have another knitting day with my friends, because I'm missing those. It's been ages. So thanks for being here. Do leave me a comment. I do read and respond to all comments. I love to know that you are there, out there in the ether. And I'm not just talking to myself. Good at that as I am. And I'll see you again real soon. Bye for now.